What is up, guys? Another week here on the Ugaly podcast. Matt DeBary, Dylan Webber. Matt, what is up?
What's going on, Dylan? Good to be back. Good to be back, man.
Yeah, we're kind of in a little bit of a dead period for Georgia football. But recruiting, you've been busy now. Coaches making week to week trips. But yeah, let's start off. And just kind of talk about where Georgia stands after this championship loss. Let's not try and beat the dead horse too much because it's already been talked about a lot this week. But what now for Georgia? You got Sugar Bowl coming up, but what all does it mean?
Yeah, the Sugar Bowl is a big deal, and obviously we're not going to talk about Georgia, Alabama that much because we did it on the ride home. We've written about it. Everyone knows what happened, and that was definitely tough. But this staff is right back on the recruiting trail and trying to get their guys. They've been all over the country, man. Sam Pittman went up to see your boy Xavier Trust that you saw. He went and saw Trevor Keegan last night, four-star tackle out of Illinois. They're making their rounds. I think he and Kirby, I hope they have a Delta Sky Miles. They've been flying all over the place, seeing pretty much every target that they've got out there, Dylan. They've done a great job, and they're some of the best recruiters in the country. Obviously, Sam Pittman and Kirby Smart are two of the best, and they're proving it this week.
I'm just looking on Twitter and I keep seeing like each hour I feel like it's just like this coach is in like other side of Georgia or the country or the South, just like, and then like the next day it's just like, oh, and then now they're like 10 hours away, like in another spot. And I saw Sam Pittman and Kirby were in Brunswick last night or tonight.
That was this morning.
This morning. Yeah. See, I don't.
Yeah. Last night they were in Illinois, seeing Trevor Keegan, and then Kirby this morning was in Brunswick, Georgia, seeing Warren McClendon, a four-star offensive lineman, can play tackle, can play guard. But he's a solid four-star. I think they were at IMG. They talked five-star running back Trey Sanders, and to take an official visit to Georgia this weekend, which is a big deal. So N'Kobe Dean, five-star linebacker, told me that their in-home visit with him would be next week. He said he thinks it's Tuesday night. So Kirby, Glenn Schumann, possibly Dan Lanning, they're all going to be in Mississippi, just south of Memphis, to check on him. So they're definitely making the rounds, and I'm expecting Georgia to close really well once again and have a top 5 easy, possibly top 3 class in 2019. So they're getting those kids, man.
That's probably exciting for fans to hear. Just kind of after these past few weeks, it seems like it's been a little rough for recruiting. Several loss or decommitments, and he picked up a couple, but it just kind of seems like the past month or two have been more of a negative trend in Georgia recruiting. But
yeah, the Auburn weekend was big. You were out there helping me try to get pictures of all those kids that were in town, and my guy Brian Breesy that we talked about earlier, he was there. Lots of 2020 kids, lots of 2019 kids. So, but this staff is really focused on trying to win a championship and focused on this team and kind of put recruiting, on the back end, since that Auburn game, which they should. They were fighting for a national championship. Obviously, I think they're the second best team in the country still. But, now the SEC championship's over, signing days around the corner. This is where this staff really, really shines. It's on the recruiting trail, and they're doing a great job so far.
Well, and so, Ohio State just lost Urban Meyer, and I know you've been asked this a million times on the board, but your response seems like, nah, it's not as big of a deal with Georgia recruiting as people would like to make it be. But is there a couple guys, maybe one or two, that this does affect in Georgia recruiting?
Well, I think it could affect one guy in 2020. He's got a Hispanic name. If I try to say it, I'm going to butcher it. Leon Cavazos. There's a J in the middle. Dylan, you're a Texas guy. I think the J is silent. So Lejon Cavazos. His dad's a great dude. I talked to his dad the other day.
I'm sorry.
No, I'm being real. I don't want to screw the kid's name up. He's a great kid. I talked to him a lot in this spring and in the summer. Georgia, he told me, was his leader for a long time. He was kind of always going to Ohio State. He wanted to play for Urban Meyer and committed to Ohio State this summer. But he's a guy who visited Georgia twice. And again, 2020 kids. There's still, a long time for him. But his dad told me Georgia's absolutely in the mix there. So that's a guy to keep an eye on. But Harry Miller is going to go to Ohio State. Steel Chambers is going to go to Ohio State. Those are two kids in the state of Georgia committed to Ohio State. And I think they're going to remain committed there. But in 2020, I think that kid, uh, he's very high on Georgia. We'll see what happens there. But Jake Ray, kid out of Marietta, decommit from Ohio State too. I don't see Georgia being a player there. He's not as good as Broderick Jones, who you know really well.
Yeah, Broderick's my boy.
Broderick is your boy, big dog post fan. So other than that one kid down at IMG, I don't think it has affected Georgia recruiting too much. I know everyone was hoping it would, but right now I don't see it other than that 2020 safety.
Now, these next couple weeks, big couple weeks before early signing period, what are you watching out for? What should other people be watching out for?
Well, the big weekend is next weekend. Tons of major targets are going to be in Athens, December 14th, 15th, 16th. That's next Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. And again, early signing day, Dylan, that's the 19th. That's the first day you can sign. So the fact that Georgia has, guys like five-star Darnell Wright, who's probably a February guy, but Evan Neal, who's going this week, but tons of guys. I mean, I can't really, off the top of my head, it's a huge list. I'll have a bigger list on Dog Post for the visitors next weekend, but I think Jaden Hazelwood will be there the next weekend. All the commitments, Rylan Godey, Don Blaylock, they're going to all be there. So they could really close well that weekend before signing day, before the 19th. So tons of targets in town that weekend. So that's something that I'm going to keep a close eye on, and I'll have a big list up on Dog Post as soon as I can, probably early next week. So
tell me this: in NCAA football, the game NCAA 14, when you're recruiting, having the later visit really it gives you more points in the recruiting game. How true is that to the actual recruiting game?
Well, it's definitely a big deal when you've got guys like Kirby Smart and Sam Pittman, closers. Those guys are closers in the recruiting world. And so when they have the last pitch and get the last in-home visit and, host all these guys the last weekend before signing day, it's a huge deal. Because, again, these are two of the top recruiters in the country. They've got their kids coming in when they want, and they're the ones who get to make that last pitch. So, as we saw last year in December and in February, this staff closed as well as you can imagine, better than we all expected. And it wouldn't surprise me if they did that again. They know what they're doing, and they're going to have the last pitch. And if they're the guys who get the last in-home visit, I wouldn't count them out.
So, all right, recruiting, gotten that taken care of. And we said we wouldn't talk about the Alabama game much. But with last year in the SEC Championship game, when Auburn lost, they just lost all motivation to do anything.
Right.
Is that a concern with Georgia at all, you think?
I thought it might be until they got slated to play your Texas Longhorns. Again, Texas is not back, and I think Texas fans are in a position where they're ecstatic to be in the Sugar Bowl. They're getting back. They're not there yet, but Texas fans are elated to be in the Sugar Bowl. They're so excited. We're Georgia fans,
That's a disappointment to them.
It is. I never thought this would be a disappointment for Georgia fans going to the Sugar Bowl, but it is. But again, Texas is still a major program. They're historic. They're the Texas Longhorns, and although they have 3-4 losses, I'm not sure which ones.
They're at 4 losses right now. They're 9-4. Think about that. A 9-4 team is in the Sugar Bowl.
Yeah, it's a little odd, but that's the college football landscape right now. But it's not Central Florida. If they're playing Central Florida, part of me would think that Kirby would want the team to come out and just step on their throat and beat them by 50 and put them, where they belong. But it is Texas, and I do think that the Georgia fans will show up, and I think the team will show up. It's a big game. I think the last time Georgia and Texas played was in the Cotton Bowl all those years ago. I think Georgia kept them from winning like a share of a national championship. It was a long time ago, and two major historic programs going at it in the Sugar Bowl, which is historic itself. I'm expecting Georgia to come out and play really hard, and it should be fun, man. Will be our second trip to New Orleans and Bourbon Street on New Year's. I think the Dog Post crew is going to have a really good time.
One thing that I kind of had a concern with Georgia about it as well, and one thing that really I thought might help them and kind of energize them was when DeAndre Baker said he was going to play in it. That wasn't really a surprise to me. I thought he would, but for those listening, he did just win the Jim Thorpe Award tonight. But I thought, that kind of shows the team, I don't have anything to gain by playing in this, but I want to be here. I want to play with the team, and I think that kind of helps rally the troops a little bit, gets them riled up for this game.
And that shows just where this program is. I mean, this ain't Auburn. This ain't guys leaving early. It ain't LSU leaving early. I mean, this is a very close team, and DeAndre Baker, again, he could have left last year. He loves Georgia. He loves this team, and he loves playing with these guys. He could have left last year. He came back, won the Jim Thorpe Award, probably a top 10, top 15 pick. We all know that. And I don't think anyone would blame him for skipping the Sugar Bowl. But again, the Sugar Bowl is a big deal still. It's against Texas, and I don't think anyone would hate on him for sitting this game out. But that just shows what type of person he is. And I mean, and where this program is too. These guys want to play for Georgia one more time. They want to wear the red and black,
and that's such a big thing. Because and really the guys like Lorenzo Carter, Davin Bellamy, Nick Chubb, Sony Michel, those guys kind of started that. I mean, because they all could have gone pro after that 2016 season. Pretty poor year. 8-5 they finished in the Liberty Bowl.
Right.
Not nearly what they had all hoped for, but I mean, Kirby closed. He got them to come back. And I think that has really changed the mentality of this program, and guys who could leave after the junior year but stay for that senior year, like DeAndre Baker and Jonathan Ledbetter.
Yeah, and I think guys in the future who are deciding whether they go pro or whether to skip a bowl game, they're going to think, well, DeAndre Baker didn't.
And I mean, his stock last year was, late first rounder, second rounder, and that's a gamble to come back at that point, because that is a great draft stock, and he came back and just upped it even more.
Yeah, this definitely helps Georgia in the future. A lot of these guys are going to think, you know what, Nick didn't, Sony didn't, DeAndre Baker didn't. They didn't leave. They all came back, and
all of their stocks went up.
Definitely. So I think you're going to see more of that down the road too. I mean, again, it just shows where this program is at right now. I mean, Greedy Williams, he's not dying to play another game at LSU. Jared Stidham's not dying to play another game at Auburn.
Clearly not, man. After last season, I know a lot of people had him going into this year as one of the, if not the top quarterback in their class, and now people are putting him on the fringe top 10 for the quarterbacks in his class, and I think he's better than that. But
I've never been a fan of Jared Stidham, but that's just me. Maybe he is better than I think. I don't know, but I don't think too much
after this
of him.
Year. Oof.
Yeah, we'll see. But again, big for Georgia to have DeAndre Baker playing in this game, because Texas is going to be ready. They get a chance to play the Georgia Bulldogs, one of the best teams in the country, in the Sugar Bowl, and it's for them to take that next step too.
This is Texas's biggest game in close to a decade, man. Think about that.
Yeah, talk to us about this Texas team. You probably watch more Texas football than anyone listening right now. Definitely more than me. I know you're buddies with the quarterback over there. He follows you on Twitter. You guys are boys. Talk about him and who Georgia. What Texas team is Georgia going to see?
Well, Texas, they've played really badly at times. They lost to Maryland, a Maryland team that is in shambles, and they did better this year than anyone expected, but still should not have lost to that team. Lost to a mediocre Oklahoma State team, and so they always play down to their competition, but they always play up to it too. I mean, they challenged Oklahoma, and they beat Oklahoma, and they held tight with them for a little bit in the Big 12 championship game. Pulled away there and lost that one. But they do play up to their competition, and Sam Ehlinger, the quarterback, is a very tough-nosed guy. Good quarterback. It does seem like he's a little banged up, though. He's been dealing with injuries all season, and that's just kind of the way he plays. Or he gets a lot of injuries with the way he plays because he's a very downhill runner. Never slides.
Yeah, he's a better runner than I thought.
He's a Tebow-like runner. I've seen him slide maybe once or twice, and I've been watching him since he was a sophomore in high school.
Yeah.
He likes to lower his shoulder and run through you, and he does it pretty well.
Well, these, I guess we're going to have a bunch of collisions in the Sugar Bowl then if he's going to try to run through these Georgia linebackers. DeAndre Walker is going to, I don't want to say have his hands full, but he's going to have a lot of opportunities to make plays if Ehlinger is going to try to run around and scramble and try to make plays like that.
And another thing about this Texas team, they're wide receivers. They got some dudes out there. They are good. Colin Johnson and your boy, Lil Jordan Humphreys.
Love that. I hope he has a great game.
He's really good, man. He's really good.
Well, real quick, I went to the Sugar Bowl when Georgia played Hawaii in the 2007 season. It was the first day of 2008, obviously, but the stadium announcer guy, he's got a big time Louisiana accent going on, and so it was really funny to hear him talk over the speaker and all that. So I'm really excited to see how that guy, if it's the same guy, say Lil Jordan Humphrey. So I hope that guy has a bunch of catches so I can kind of hear it Louisiana accent on his name throughout the ballgame. I think that'd be pretty cool.
Yeah, and back to the Horns. One more thing is, like I said, this is probably their biggest game in nearly a decade since. I mean, maybe since the national championship game when they played in 09.
Biggest bowl game or
biggest bowl game for sure. But I mean, biggest game otherwise would be last week when they lost to Oklahoma. And
yeah. That was the biggest Texas-Oklahoma game of all time, right?
Technically, because it had never been that late in the season, and for a conference championship, they always play, in the first half of the season. So it never has the weight of that game.
Yeah. Auburn fans are gonna hate it, but last year's SEC championship in over 100 years, that was the biggest Georgia-Auburn game of all time in over 100 years, and Georgia whooped that ass. But enough talk about Auburn. I think Texas is a good team. I think they'll give Georgia a fight, but Georgia's offensive line, I feel like they're
going to push them around. And Texas has a good defensive line, but I think just with what Georgia did against Alabama with the offensive line.
Yeah.
I
think Swift will have a field day. I guess we'll talk about this in a little bit if you want, Dylan, but Elijah Holyfield, I think we'll know whether he's going pro or not before this game. Like, we should, right?
Nah, he wouldn't announce that before.
Okay, well, that's big for Noah Cain, the running back. I don't know what's going to happen there because he's supposed to be signing on the 19th, but he's also said he wants to know if Elijah Holyfield's leaving, if Brian Herrion's leaving. That's going to be a big deal in his decision. So we'll see. I think he's looking too much into that myself, but, that's him and his family, and they want to play early. So interesting on that. I don't know when Elijah Holyfield's going to announce or not, but
I would guess he would, honestly.
Yeah.
And Brian Herrion, that would be really weird if he left.
Not left early for the draft, maybe transferred.
But that would, if Brian Herrion transferred, that wouldn't be as surprising.
Yeah. So, big game. I'm excited to go down there. I'm going to fly down there. I've got to cover some all-star practices and games the week, a few days after Christmas. You guys are going down there early, right?
Well, have you heard how I'm doing this?
No, y'all are going Thursday?
Well, so so I'm going to be in Austin is the thing. And but flying into New Orleans is pretty cheap from Austin. Flying out is ridiculously expensive.
Why is that?
I don't know. I honestly have no idea. Maybe because of the game. But so I'm flying into New Orleans from Austin, and then with Dean and Brad driving from New Orleans to Atlanta to fly out of there. Because it's we're talking like $800 cheaper.
So you're going from New Orleans, driving with us. I'll be riding.
Oh, you're riding there too.
Well, I'm flying from Atlanta to New Orleans just one way, and then I'm going to ride with you guys back.
Yeah, so I'm riding to Atlanta so I can fly from Atlanta to Austin.
Oh boy, that's some trip.
Yeah,
that is some trip. Well, sorry about that, Dylan.
No, that's all right. That's what this podcast is made for, to just share horrible news with each other.
There you go.
About our arrangements.
So that's our Sugar Bowl talk again. I think we're going to have a good time in New Orleans for sure.
Yeah. I got a bunch of friends from Texas and Georgia going. It's going to be a good time.
Bourbon Street on New Year's, you really can't beat that. So I'm definitely looking forward to that. So after the Sugar Bowl, you're going back home. What's your winter break like? I know you didn't have the best Thanksgiving.
So
I hope your Christmas is better. How do you do that back home?
Christmas? Well, Christmas is usually, honestly, Christmas Day is actually pretty boring. Because we just celebrate my dad, my brother, and me. And it ends at about noon. It starts at about 11 and ends at about noon. and then we just hang out the rest of the day.
There you go.
But
I got you.
and
I got you.
then and we usually go up to my grandpa's for his birthday, which is on the 28th, and we usually leave on the 27th to go see him.
Okay, now
But
where is he at?
in Midland, Texas, out if you've ever Friday Night Lights, it's right by where that book is about.
Yeah,
Odessa,
Odessa
yeah,
Permian in
yeah.
mid.
It's like it's the town right next to it.
Oh wow, so there's nothing in West Texas though, right? Like
Bunch
except
of bunch of cattle, oil fields,
oh boy.
flat land.
Well, there you go. Well, yeah, that's good. I mean, this recruiting wise, this is always big. That the week before Christmas and New Year's is always a big deal. That's when they have all these All-Star games around here.
Well, yeah, I
So
remember last year you didn't fly out to LA until like real late.
yeah, that's where I try to find some guys. Because covering the games, there's a lot of Friday nights where we don't go see a high school game.
Yeah,
So this is where I go and I find the kids. It's really the best of the best in state going at it. So that's when I can really figure out who the top guys are. So I've got that going on, and obviously I'll have everyone covered over on Dog Post. But real quick, I want to go back to the team. They gave out some awards, some All SEC, All American nominations. You want to go down the list for us real quick on the Georgia Bulldogs who made it?
yeah. Okay, we'll start with the freshmen. George led the SEC with 5 freshmen: Justin Fields, Isaiah Wilson, Cade Mays, Jake Camarda, Jordan Davis. Isaiah Wilson, Cade Mays. That's not too surprising to me.
Yeah,
Justin Fields, I think it was just. I mean, how many starting freshman quarterback were there?
right.
And so
No,
they went with the best backup one, and Justin Fields has probably played the most for most of the backups.
Well, that's what happens when you have top 3 and top, the top class in the country, and you're gonna have all these guys. So, but my guy, big shout out to Isaiah Wilson. Redshirted last year, took over that right tackle spot, and I think he did a great job. I mean,
Yeah, he did a good job. He wasn't phenomenal in my eyes, but I mean, I thought he was really good, really solid.
yeah, and I think coming from Brooklyn, he definitely needed a year under his belt, and he came out and I thought he did really, really well, especially in the run game. I felt like they ran behind Andrew Thomas a lot because Andrew Thomas is just a man. He is a grown man over there. But when I went back and watched the tape, Isaiah Wilson, I think, played really, really well this year, and you didn't really hear about it because you don't.
The dude on the other side is
yeah,
going to be a first round pick next year.
definitely. But Cade Mays, versatility, he brings much to that team. Someone comes out, throw Cade Mays in there. He did a great job this year too. So
and Jake Camarda, I think that's just kind of a similar thing with Justin Fields. There probably weren't a whole lot of freshman punters, and Jake Camarda, of them all, was probably the best.
He can boom it. He's got to control it a little bit, but he can boom it. There's no doubt. He's got a hell of a leg on him. And then obviously Jordan Davis came in and played like an animal second.
He was so big for that because and you and I both agreed on this even before the season started that they really needed to figure out that nose tackle spot. Just a guy who can not even make tackles there, but just fill gaps and allow the linebackers to make plays.
Yeah.
And he was able to do that.
Again, you can't teach size, and he's got it. But, yeah, I mean, kudos to Trey Scott. Developed him a little bit and got his weight down, got him into shape. And, I mean, he was an animal against Georgia Tech for sure. Everyone on the defensive line was. But, yeah, overall, I mean, solid group. I mean, they're the second best team in the country, and it shows on these, all first team SEC. Andrew Thomas, Lamont Galliard, DeAndre Baker, obviously. Second team, DeAndre Swift, well deserved. Jonathan Ledbetter, well deserved. Rodrigo, Mecole Hardman. Mecole flashed here and there. He didn't really take over any games. He would kind of disappear here and there. But
early in the season, it really looked like he was going to be. I mean, he was primed for an awesome year. But yeah, it did kind of fade away.
I still love Mecole. He's still just a huge weapon, and he definitely. I'm expecting to come back and have a monster senior year. I mean, he's not getting any slower. The speed is always going to be there. So another weapon for Georgia next fall too. So it was a fun year. We got to go to. It went by really quick, Dylan. Is that just me, or did this year kind of fly by?
It seemed a lot faster than last year.
Yeah. I mean, I remember going to South Carolina like it was yesterday. But fun trip overall. I thought the road trip to Kentucky was fine. That wasn't too long there. The trip to New Orleans was a good time. We had fun.
Best road trip this year?
Oh man, New Orleans was fun. We did more down there, and we stayed a little bit longer.
Yeah.
We didn't do anything in Jacksonville. Obviously, I was down there with the girlfriend and her sister, and you were out just
I was
doing
with
college thing. Yeah. So we didn't really get together a whole lot in Jacksonville, but Kentucky was fine. Got to see our buddy Fletcher Page propose to Caitlin. That was a good time.
That was a good night. That was a fun night.
That was a fun night. Hanging out, drinking beers with some other media members that people I'm sure know that is listening to this. So
and
fun time.
Seeing all the great kids in the brewery.
Oh my gosh, yeah. I don't want to go there. If you're listening to this and you've got kids, don't take your kids to a brewery. Just don't do it. I mean, you should be going to jail for that. That's ridiculous.
Do you want to see Matt upset? If you don't want to see Matt upset, don't do that.
There you go. Awesome. But real quick, how's it going with the coffee girl? What's the latest? Everyone wants to know. Is it off?
I think only you and Dean want to know.
Well, I don't think I know the latest.
I don't know. What's the latest that you know? What was the last update you heard?
I think there was maybe a date or two after the coffee thing, but you weren't all in on her. Is that right?
No, I was not all in. I'm still not all in, and she was at first, but she's not as much anymore. We're still talking a little bit, but it's. I think we're really just friends at this point. Much more casual.
Okay, so are you still on the prowl? I guess that's a bad word, but I mean,
prowl makes me sound really creepy.
I don't mean it like that, but
no, I know.
Good for you. There's a lot of good-looking girls in Athens, so you keep doing your thing. But when do you go to Australia again?
I leave. For all those listening, I leave for Australia for next semester, studying abroad. I leave here on January. I leave the States on January 19th.
Man, how long is that flight? You said you're going to Hawaii too, right? On the way.
Yeah, I'm stop. It's halfway between. Hawaii is halfway between, or about halfway from here to Australia. So stopping there. Yeah.
That's awesome though.
Yeah.
I've never left the country. I mean, the Bahamas doesn't count. I don't think that counts. Like Atlantis doesn't count. That's still America in my book. And again, I love the United States, as you know. I'm a big America guy. I don't have any reason to leave the country, but
exactly. Yeah, no, you've told me that many a times.
I will say Australia for studying abroad is pretty cool. I'll give you that. That'd be pretty cool.
I really like the accents. That's really the only reason I'm going there.
I don't know the difference between a British accent and an Australian accent. If I tried to do both of them, I think it would sound the same.
No, you could understand the difference.
Really?
Yeah, definitely.
I think there's a little more twang, I guess, in Australian accent.
The Australian one, I feel like, is a little smoother.
Okay.
I don't know how to describe it, actually.
Are you staying in Sydney or like somewhere else?
Moving around. Sydney, Melbourne, Brisbane. Yeah, I'll be all around.
What's in the middle of Australia?
Well, it's just a deep hole to hell. Is the middle of Australia. No, it's the outback. I don't know, kangaroos and stuff.
A whole bunch of kangaroos jumping around. They'll box you, man. Don't be pissing off any kangaroos while you're there.
Okay, so you could beat an alligator in a wrestle. Could you beat a kangaroo in a boxing match?
I don't think so.
Yeah, I don't think so either.
Yeah, I mean, I'm a badass. I'm not that much of a badass, but I need to get in shape too. I'm almost 30. I need to get my ass back in shape, play some basketball, do something. Because right now, no, that kangaroo would kick my ass, but it'd be nice. But yeah, man, I think that's all we got. Another great edition of the Ugaly Podcast. Again, everyone, thank you for listening, and let us know how you liked it. Make sure you come to New Orleans and have a drink with us on Bourbon Street.
If you find us, come say hi.
Definitely come say hello, and thanks for listening, guys. Dylan?
Make sure to check out Dog Post for the next couple of weeks. Mac's going to have some good recruiting stuff. I'm releasing a story next week about Uga and his daily routine on game days.
I've been looking forward to this one for a long time, too. So I'm excited to read that, and I'm sure everyone else is, too.
Yeah, it'll be interesting.
So,
All right, guys.
appreciate it.
See y'all.